We are kicking off with NXT as General Manager Ava has announced 2 matches for the next episode of the Silver brand with some huge stakes. On Twitter, Ava shared that Wes Lee will face Cedric Alexander on the show, while Cora Jade will take on Sol Ruca in Iron Survivor qualifying matches. For those unfamiliar, the Iron Survivor Challenge sees 2 superstars start and a new one come out every 5 minutes until all 5 entrants are into the match. The winner is whoever racks up the most pins or submissions, and while later entries have less time to do that, they'll also be a lot fresher than their opponents. We'll have to see who wins this year's Iron Survivor Challenge, but fans won't have to wait long to see which 2 superstars will be entering the men's and women's matches. On SmackDown, Randy Orton was laid out with an attack by Kevin Owens, who took his assault to the next level by using the banned pile driver on the Viper. In a medical update, WWE has confirmed that Randy Orton has been diagnosed with a cervical cord neuropraxia, an injury that could have serious implications for his wrestling career. Now, given that WWE publicly shared this via a tweet, it's clear that this is kayfabe, and in the comments, fans predicted a Royal Rumble return for Orton, if not sooner. Whenever Orton is back, fans can expect his feud with Kevin Owens to resume once he does, after the prizefighter tried to end the former WWE champion for good this week. It's been close to a year since Vince McMahon left WWE due to Janelle Grant's lawsuit, and while TKO have made clear he's gone, that hasn't stopped McMahon from making headlines. Recently, TKO COO Mark Shapiro told CNBC that despite McMahon's departure, he did have a breakfast meeting with the billionaire, sparking speculation as to whether he's really gone. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was stated that Shapiro's choice to mention the meeting could be an attempt to normalize Vince in case WWE ever decides to bring him back. It was stated that the meeting did not have to be publicly disclosed, and the fact that it was suggests there's a strategy, potentially to soften his public image. McMahon remains a shareholder in WWE, though Shapiro added that he stepped away for a desire for privacy, but it remains to be seen whether McMahon's exit from WWE is truly for good. Do you think McMahon is gone for good, or is Shapiro laying the groundwork for a potential return? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. On this week's SmackDown, Sami Zayn was able to reunite with the OG Bloodline despite an initially frosty response by Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso. The only blood relative of the family that's been on Sami's side since the start is Jey Uso, a fact that Zayn didn't overlook after SmackDown went off the air. After the show, Zayn reflected on what had been a wild night, which had seen him be rejected by Reigns and Solo Sikoa tease a partnership before ending the night with the OG group. He said, "It's been a crazy night and I don't know what's next in store for the Bloodline, but I want to say one thing. Everything that happened tonight with me, Jimmy, Roman, and all of this coming together, none of this would have happened if it wasn't for this man right here, Jey Uso. Jey, you're my dog and I love you. No matter what happens at Survivor Series, at War Games, I got your back." With a War Games match coming at Survivor Series, Zayn is firmly on the side of Jey Uso, but can he truly coexist with Roman Reigns and Jimmy? Time will tell. Over to AEW Collision now, as fans saw a huge vignette for the return of Julia Hart this week, which made reference to her previous character in the company. The vignette starts with Hart doing some cheerleading, a nod to her time in the Varsity Blondes, only to stop as she sees a dark figure sat in the stands watching intently. Hart tries to resume her cheerleading with flashes of her time in the House of Black appearing on screen, and is shot with an arrow by the dark figure and collapses in the middle of the field. It's certainly an eerie way to promote the return of Julia Hart, who has been out of action since AEW Dynasty in April, where she lost the TBS Championship to Willow Nightingale. Hart's time with the House of Black has proven immensely popular with fans who are eager to see her back after the haunting vignette on this week's edition of Collision. Now, MJF has been touted as one of the defining heels of his generation, and it's not hard to see why, as he continues to find ways to get under the skin of opponents and fans. With that said, WWE and TNA Hall of Famer Bully Ray recently made a bold claim about his mic skills recently, and this led to an appropriate reply from MJF. At a Signed by Superstars session, Bully touted his skills at being able to speak without a script and believes no one, not even MJF, can hang with him. He said, "Guys, let me explain something to you. There's not one person in this industry who can hang with me on the microphone when no scripts are involved and these mics are hot. Nobody. MJF would get killed." The Salt of the Earth clearly took notice of what Bully Ray had to say as he took to Twitter to take a dig at the former TNA World Heavyweight Champion. MJF uploaded a photo of himself alongside Peter Griffin at the Big NY event and said it was so cool to meet with Bully, who MJF said waited so patiently to get an autograph from him. MJF is more than proud of his skills on the mic, so this kind of reply was very expected of him, and we'll have to see if Bully has a response, as fans are already feeling this could lead to a program. Do you feel that MJF had the last laugh with this response to Bully Ray saying he can own him on the mic? Please share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. The beef with Bully Ray isn't MJF's only notable moment this week, as he also appeared at the Entertainment X Sports Expo, where he did a meet and greet with fans. One fan handed MJF the red WWE Universal title, which was on WWE TV from 2016 to 2019, and the AEW star held it with 2 fingers as if it were a dirty diaper. Then after they snapped the photo, MJF tossed the belt onto the table, intentionally letting it topple onto the floor before making clear he was ready for the next fan. Ironically, the title featured the side plates of Finn Balor, and before making it big in AEW, MJF was once painted up like Balor's demon as a test to see how the paint would look on Finn. Nowadays, MJF has become a huge star in wrestling, and while there's still fans who'd love to see him in WWE one day, MJF wants no part of it, judging by this meet and greet. As we previously reported, Dutch Mantell is dealing with some serious health issues, and a GoFundMe has been created to help with medical costs. On the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported on the fundraiser and mentioned that Tony Khan's $5,000 and Chris Jericho's $1,500 are the top 2 donations. Much of Meltzer's report, though, spoke about Mantell previously being critical of AEW, as he stated, "They had raised $64,200, with most of the top donors being anonymous, and the largest known donors were Tony Khan at $5,000 and Chris Jericho at $1,500. With Khan, many have pointed out that Mantell as a podcaster was brutal to Khan, even being critical of him when the promotion was at its popularity peak, and recently criticized him for the contract terms Swerve Strickland got in his recent deal. It's something when a former wrestler gets mad at a promoter who can clearly afford it for what he pays his top talent. And he was doing it after he knew the new deal was put together that was going to make the company exceedingly profitable. Wrestlers using the old school, he doesn't draw money, and not understanding that this isn't a mom-and-pop week-to-week business based on live event numbers, but one that, in a worst-case scenario, would generate $250 million next year. And most of that revenue is guaranteed ahead of time." Many have criticized Meltzer for bringing this up, seeing it as taking shots at Dutch despite his illness, and feel that now is not the time to question whether Khan should have donated or not. Mantell's podcast co-host James said it's fun to see Meltzer tank his credibility in real time, and said that Meltzer was using Dutch's health issues to further grind the axe and score points. Dutch's situation is serious, and we're wishing him a speedy recovery. And there's plenty who feel now was not the right time for Meltzer to say what he said about the ailing wrestling star. And we're ending with more from AEW Collision, as Pac, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli put the trios titles on the line against the Conglomeration in the main event. Kyle O'Reilly and Yuta started for their teams with a fast exchange, and though the babyfaces had Yuta cornered, his teammates evened the odds. This was the most action-packed bout, with all 6 men putting in an effort to make this an entertaining main event, but a title change never seemed possible. This was a perfect example of what the trios division is in AEW, as the rules were ignored a bit at times, but that isn't unusual in AEW. Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir came to the ring with a few minutes left in the show, but so did Orange Cassidy, and in the end, it was the champions who retained. OC initiated a huge brawl with Mox and his crew, and the show ended with the Death Riders retreating into the crowd as Cassidy continues to build to his match with Moxley at Full Gear.